So to find out more, to find out who the progenitor of me is, I've done extensive research. I've done 3 ancestry DNA tests online. But then I hired a private investigator to find out the story of my great-great-grandfather. First of all, this goes back to 70 generations. Right now, I only know 2 generations, my father and my grandfather. So the story that I found out through my extensive research is about my great-great ancestor, the progenitor Amenti. So Amenti was living in Canaan. He was the Canaanites. And he was able to read and write Sumerian because he was doing business in Babylon, which is like lower Mesopotamia. So he was writing, be able to read Sumerian slash Akkadian, which, as we know, is the first language that was writing on cuneiform tablets. They were given everything. All the teachings, mathematical, geometry, astrology, first came to the Sumerians. So that was number one thing that was so important because he was living in Canaan with the giants, because the average height was roughly 10 feet in Canaan, in this region. So he was able to read and write Hebrew because Hebrew language comes from Canaanite language. So we have the Sumerian. This is what I found out. We have this Hebrew language. Then my great ancestor Amenti was able to stay in the records, because we know as the winners take over, all the old records change. When he was able to stay in the records was because he was working for the Flavian dynasty. And the Flavians were the ones who were the dynasty who created the Colosseum in ancient Rome. Then they were the ones who knocked down the wall of Jerusalem for the 3rd time in exile, create the 3rd exile. The Flavians also were the ones who created or made the think tank for the Council of Nicaea. So my great was the person, one of the scribes, who worked on the team to translate the Sumerian and Hebrew text to Latin for the ancient Romans, in which these redesigned or realigned texts now create the system we live in and everything that we follow in 2019. So through my research and all the resources I put into my project to find out who my ancestor, I was able to go back 7 generations and find out who Amenti was to my ancestry, the line of Shem, a Shemite. And yep, that's what Ancestry DNA and some research and has done for me.